Welcome back to Outsiders. Our next guest is a firm favourite with Outsiders fans. She is, of course, the Liberal Senator for Queensland, Amanda Stoker, who has been a regular on this show since she first stepped foot into the Red Chamber back in 2018. Staunchly Conservative, Amanda grew up in Sydney's western suburbs where her dad was a plumber and mum a shop assistant. And she herself graduated from Sydney Uni with first-class honours in arts law and now lives in Brisbane. Amanda, welcome back to your home away from home. Outsiders, how are you?
Hello, I'm well. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's good to have you back. Now, you can't be here in person, obviously, because you're not allowed to cross the border. What is going on with Queensland's borders? There was a heartbreaking story earlier this week involving the tragic death of one of two twins, and there was much debate that led to about the closure of the borders, people in New South Wales close to the border not being able to access healthcare. A lot of debate there with Anastasia Palaszczuk saying something about Queensland's hospitals are for Queenslanders and New South Wales hospitals for New South Wales. Not exactly the spirit of federation, Amanda.
No, and I think a lot of Queenslanders found that kind of attitude quite abhorrent. The taxpayers as a whole of this country fund hospitals, and the idea that New South Welsh people, particularly from those Northern Rivers and further north areas, shouldn't be able to access Queensland hospitals in situations of dire need, literally moments of life and death, is quite appalling. So I think that while most Queenslanders are prepared to accept some sensible restrictions for people coming from medically recognised hotspot areas, they really object to the constant shifting of the goalposts from the Queensland government, so that we're no longer adopting an approach that says we're just going to try and manage this into the community, learn to live with it. Instead, we're trying to exclude it. It's not realistic, it's not fair, and it lacks the flexibility that's required to be compassionate to people who are ill or doing it tough medically. And it lacks the common sense that's required to keep our core businesses ticking along so that our economy doesn't collapse. This is really quite disturbing stuff. We all know on the most uncontroversial advice from medical experts everywhere that the path to living with the virus is all about having top-notch tracing, high rates of testing, and methods to contain outbreaks when they happen. None of that involves hard border closures without the flexibility to adapt to the way people need to live.
James.
Well, you're a federal senator, Amanda, and what does this say about the state of our federation right now when the federal government seems to be powerless to do anything about this border closure, which is deeply unfair? It's actually fatal in the case of this poor child and that family. We've heard all sorts of other things, and yet Anastasia Palaszczuk is able to run this as an election issue, and the evidence I've seen is that a lot of people in Queensland still seem to be buying this tough on the border approach. What avenue is there for the feds to do something about this, and would you like to see them doing more?
Well, the Constitution says in Section 92 that intercourse between the states shall be absolutely free. It'll be interesting to see what the High Court has to say about that. There are ways to curtail that for proportionality and so forth, but the words shall be absolutely free, they seem pretty decisive, and so it will be interesting to see what they've got to say. The PM, though, I'm pleased to see, has been ramping up the pressure on the states to realise that Australia does best when we don't have hard parochial attitudes, that when we can trade amongst each other, when we can move freely as a country, we do our best economically and socially. That's why we came together as 6 states and 2 territories to make a federation. It's been the underpinning of our prosperity, and we shouldn't lose sight of that.
Well,